The Winthrop University Board of Trustees voted on Friday to request that lawmakers allow them to rename a building on campus. The name change is for Tillman Hall. Joining us now to talk more about this possible name change is Democratic strategist, State House insider, and Winthrop alum, Antjuan Seawright. Antjuan, thanks for spending a couple of minutes with us today.
Thank you, Darcy, and happy Father's Day to the amazing people God has tapped on the shoulder to be called Dad.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. You're wearing your Winthrop University sweatshirt. As I mentioned, you are an alum. What does this mean to you?
Well, Darcy, the American experiment has been shaped by big events that help us move in a direction towards progress. If you look at what happened in Charleston, fortunately or unfortunately, we then moved to take down the Confederate battle flag because of innocent black men being killed at the hands of law enforcement. We're having real discussions around racism, bigotry, and hate, and that has brought about discussions around buildings, monuments, and statues named after controversial figures who identified with racism, bigotry, and hate. My alma mater, Winthrop University, has a building on campus named after Ben Pitchfork Tillman. He was a person who's known as who advocated for the killing of blacks in one of his campaigns. He was the father of Jim Crow. He was supportive of lynching of African Americans. There is no way in hell in modern day history that a building should be named after someone who represents that. Every generation has a responsibility to be better. And it is, I think, the biggest act of malpractice for any college in the United States to have anything named after someone who represented those things. I am very proud that on Juneteenth, 2020, the Board of Trustees at Winthrop University voted to send the legislature a message that they want permission, like Clemson did, like USC did, to rename buildings who are named after controversial figures.
Antjuan, you know that the Heritage Act requires a 2/3 vote from the General Assembly. With them not going back until January, do you think that this will still have as much steam then as it does now to get pushed forward?
Well, the good news about everything happening around the country is happening from the outside and not from the inside. Anytime things are happening from the outside or from upward, it seems to have more traction and have a better chance of changing in the right direction. We saw that with the Confederate flag. I think there are business people and business leaders starting to step up to the plate, i.e. the SEC, Southeastern Conference, announced just early this week that they are sending a message to states that have the Confederate flag as their state flag that they will not do events there. We went through that in South Carolina. Now we do not have the flag. Greenville is the home. So I think the conversation to visit the Heritage Act will be one that will linger into next year. There are some who believe that the Heritage Act is not constitutional because it binds two general assemblies. That will be a discussion to be had that lawyers and eventually the court will figure out. But at the end of the day, I think lawmakers have a responsibility to respond to the at-large community who are asking for these changes to make. You cannot ignore the political reality that exists all around you. We send them to Columbia to do the people's business. This is, by and large, the people's business.
This isn't the first time that Winthrop University has worked to get Tillman's name off campus. There was an effort back in 2015 as well.
There was, and unfortunately, these things are sometimes a marathon, not a sprint. And as you know, from being around this business and talking about this business, direction is more important than speed. I think the direction we're going in, we may not be breaking the speed limit to get to the end result, but I definitely think the car is on the highway and the destination is in the GPS. Now it's up to voters who will decide who returns to the State House in November, and eventually they will have to make a gut check decision of whether they're going to allow colleges and universities, by the way, students and parents pay the tuition to decide what they want their campus to look like. I don't want another first generation of black college student like an Antjuan Seawright who stepped foot on Winthrop campus to have to go into that building knowing that it's named after a person who advocated for their ancestors lynching and bragged about the killing of people who look like them.
Antjuan Seawright, thank you so much.
Thank you, Darcy.